Hi friends, let's talk about India and Olympics. India has shown a remarkable performance in recently concluded Olympics as well as Paralympic Games. India won 7 medals in Olympic Games and it has been our country's best performance till date. But for a country that houses 1/7 of world's population, doesn't it seem small to win only 7 medals? Especially when we compare India with a country like China with just only slightly larger population but a huge pile of medals they won in Olympics. So the question is, why can't we be major contender in the medals tally given our population, growing economy, growing drive, and when we know we are doing so well in other games or other sports like cricket? Why can't we support the development of talent, development of sports in the country? Of course, there are a number of theories. Probably it's all about priorities. Priorities as a nation and priorities as us as individuals. Perhaps we are not that sporty enough, of course, unless, of course, it is cricket, isn't it? The number one and most important is lack of recognition in sports apart from cricket. We all know we are a cricket nation. We are a nation where we worship Mr. Tendulkar and Mr. Dhoni. So in a country like this, other sports really lack recognition. Now, if only parents can realize this and start supporting their kids early on. Sports of any kind helps you develop sportsmanship qualities which are useful not only on the field but also later on in your life and your career. You can develop a stronger mental and physical selves. Now, even after you are aware of all this, if we still do not encourage sports as a career, sports as seriously as it needs to be, then I think that will be a major miss. Our best sports person end up without any livelihood, without any job, while they are the ones should be leading major corporations. Imagine the kind of talent they have in themselves, which they showed in the field earlier in their life, but later on, we are misusing the talent or we are not using the talent at all. Now, our government should also make it financially viable for them to pursue sports as a career and not be looking for or not be dying or not be living their life without any meaningful livelihood. Parents and teacher should make extra effort to identify child's inclination. Even if your child decides to pursue a career other than sports later in his life, all the qualities that he has inculcated in himself or herself during his time playing on the field, they will be amazingly meaningful for him. So encourage your children to actively participate in sports right from the childhood, even if it's not cricket, friends. Number 2, infrastructure. Well, I'm sure everything that I'm going to talk about, we all know. We all know about India and hockey. We all know as a nation how many gold medals we won in early parts of hockey in Olympics. Even before independence, even after independence, we dominated hockey like anything. But the moment Olympics Hockey Federation decided to move from the natural to the synthetic turf, we haven't been able to win medals. Why? Because we do not have enough stadium with that kind of turf. Can you imagine being asked to play a sport for which we can't replicate the infrastructure that we'll be using at Olympics in our home stadiums? Same thing goes for other kind of training. Most of our sportsmen who have won gold medals, they have won based on their own sheer talent and hard work. I remember Mr. Abhinav Bindra, who paid from his pocket to get trained not only in India but abroad for several years before he actually won a medal. Now, when this kind of attention or lack of it we pay to infrastructure, I think we cannot expect more medals. So, my friends, I think we all need to emphasize to our elected officials to pay attention to infrastructure, pay attention to facilities, pay attention to training equipment for our budding sportsmen. Without it, we can't expect them to perform at their best at the international level, where they are competing against the guys who have the means of and might of countries like Russia, countries like US, countries like China, or even UK and other countries which are coming up pretty strongly these days. Number 3 is the goal-oriented government action. Even though we talked about taking help from the government, when we were talking about infrastructure, but that a lot of people funded the infrastructure from their own pocket to win. But unless a concerted effort at the central government level is paid to winning Olympic gold medals or winning in sports outside of Olympics, you can't really make it happen. I remember in China, when China hosted the Olympics a few years ago, the government there had Project 119, and that was towards winning 119 gold medals because they were hosting. They wanted to be the number one nation. Now that is the kind of resolve one needs at the government level to be able to win that many medals. They mobilized the government at every level to make sure adequate training, adequate focus, adequate infrastructure, the coaches, and everything is provided to the budding sportsmen to be able to win that many medals at the Olympic level. Now, even back home, I remember, in India, the Odisha government has been focusing a lot on training hockey players, and all their effort yielded some good result this time when India finally won some medal. May not be gold, but some medal. And all the players, the encouragement, the financial help, infrastructure, and all they provided in Odisha, I think that was commendable. So it shows that if the help is there from parents, if the help is there from teachers, sporting institutions, and then of course finally government, things can be done. Now let's go to the next one, coaches. We are the land which worship Dronacharya. Do you know, we all know this very well, that Arjuna, it was not just sheer talent and hard work, but it was also the work done on him by his teacher, his guru, Dronacharya. We are a country which worships their gurus, and yet not much attention we pay to our coaches. When you look at people like Mr. Gopi Chand, I have had opportunity to interact with him personally, and he was an All England badminton champion who went on to become one of our best coaches in badminton. He trained several medal winners in badminton himself. Now, often he says if you invest in a player, you of course get him for 8 to 10 years. But if you invest in a coach, you actually have invested in the players for next 30 to 40 years, because he will go on training. He will be that golden egg, or he will be that goose which can lay golden eggs, as the saying goes, forever or for a number of years. So it's very, very crucial for us to focus on our coaches, remove the politics from there, and produce coaches like Dronacharya, coaches like Mr. Gopi Chand, who can train our players at the international level of sports, not only in cricket, badminton, boxing, but in every single thing. Of course, next is sponsorship, money or funds. Now, these days, we see the amount of money flowing into IPL. If only we can incentivize all those guys who are funding IPL just for the eyeballs to put 10% of their funds into other sports of their choice. I think that incentive has to be created, can be created, because eyeballs are there not just in cricket these days, but in many sports, isn't it? Now, if we can do that, create that kind of incentive structure, take 10% of IPL funds into other sports, I think we can really provide a lot of things that our players are not able to find to win these international level games. Now, in conclusion, my friends, Olympics are the biggest sporting competition in the world. If we harbor the ambition of being a globally dominant country, not only in technology, not only in spacecraft or spaceships, but also in sports, first we need to change our priority to become a sporting nation. Second, we need to provide all these things that I have talked about. Priority first, and then comes everything else, including money, which will make everything else possible. Friends, I think if we all can take this resolve, create a fund to actually donate towards a fund to create this kind of infrastructure, that can start from us. Let's all take a resolve, start donating towards this kind of infrastructure, this kind of facilities, give jobs to sporting people in your companies if you own one, and then see how the magic unfolds. Thank you.